Hi friends, this is Miss Kat, one of those STEM educators at Boys and Girls Club, and today I want to talk about astronomy again. But in specific, I want to tell you how you can predict when the moon will rise or set, or tell time using the moon. Something we already know is that the moon is half illuminated by the sun, so the half that's facing towards the sun will be lit, while the half facing away from the sun will be dark. So in this model, I'm making our moon move very fast, but in reality, it takes a full 27 days for the moon to orbit our Earth. So we usually typically see a single moon phase appear for about 2 to 3 days. Knowing where the different moon phases are located around the Earth, we are able to tell time using just the moon. First, let me explain this diagram. So this is me standing on the Earth, and I'm facing south. So the east is to my left, and the west is to my right, while the North Pole is behind me or north. This is what we call a space-based perspective. This is helpful for when I spin this little diagram. It shows how the Earth is spinning on its axis. So this is what my position looks like during the day. My entire horizon is being taken up by sunlight because the sun is right directly above me. So let's take the full moon for example. The full moon only seems full because we are seeing all of the half that's illuminated by the sun. So we already know that the sun rises in the east at 6 a.m. and then sets in the west at 6 p.m., giving a full 12 hours of daylight. And the moon kind of works the same way. The moon is only visible for 12 hours of any given day. So with our full moon, we see that the sun is in the highest point of the sky at noon, and then so the full moon is going to be highest point in the sky at midnight, which is the opposite or 12 hours later than when the sun is out. And you can see in this model, the sun is behind us or below our horizon, which is why this is going to be nighttime and only the full moon is visible. So the sun and the full moon have opposite schedules, so you won't ever see them out at the same time. So now let's look at the opposite case, the new moon. The new moon will always be located in between the sun and the earth. This position never changes. And so we only see the half of the moon that is dark because the other half that's illuminated by the sun is facing away. This also means that the new moon follows the same rise and set times as the sun. This also means that because the moon is in between the sun and the earth, we will never actually be able to see the new moon because the sun is so much brighter. So we've talked about the full moon and the new moon. Let's talk about the first quarter phase now. In this diagram, the sun is directly overhead and the first quarter moon is at the eastern horizon. So at noon, my sun looks like this, and then my first quarter is at my eastern horizon. When the sun is setting at 6 p.m., that means the first quarter moon will be highest in the sky at this point. The first quarter phase is 6 hours behind the sun, so it will rise at 12 p.m., it will set at 12 a.m. and it will be highest in the sky at 6 p.m. The opposite of the first quarter is the third quarter because it is on the opposite side of the earth. During this third quarter phase, at midnight, the moon will be rising. At 6 a.m. when the sun is rising, the moon will be at its highest point, and then at noon, it will be setting. So now we have all these phases and their rise and set times, but what about the other phases? So starting with the waxing crescent, we know that it's in between the new moon phase and the first quarter phase. The new moon is highest in the sky at 12 p.m. while the first quarter phase is highest in the sky at 6 p.m. And halfway in between those times is 3 p.m. when the waxing crescent is highest in the sky. It takes 6 hours for the moon to go from the highest point in the sky to setting, and so 6 hours after 3 p.m. is 9 p.m. With the waning crescent, it's very similar. The waning crescent is in between third quarter and new moon. The third quarter rises at 12 a.m. while the new moon rises at 6 a.m. And so halfway in between those two times is 3 a.m., which is when the waning crescent will rise. The waning crescent will then be highest in the sky at 9 a.m. So this is what we have so far, and there's 2 phases left. The next one is the waxing gibbous, and so this one is in between first quarter and full moon, and so it's going to rise at 3 p.m. and be highest in the sky at 9 p.m. and then set at 3 a.m. The last phase to talk about is the waning gibbous, which is in between the full moon and the third quarter. This moon phase will rise at 9 p.m., be highest in the sky at 3 a.m., and then set at 3 a.m. in the morning. So here's our last 2 additions to our chart, and then here's all of our times and sets and rises, and there's going to be a part 2 to this video so you can learn how to tell time using this information.